In early September 2016, the rediscovery of Bugun leochicala, a critically endangered species of passerine bird family in India's remote northeastern state, made a considerable splash in mainstream media across the globe. However, little did most people know that the Bugun leochicala, also named after the small indigenous Bugun tribe in whose community forest it was first spotted in the year 1995, shares several existential parallels. Like most of tribal groups in Arunachal Pradesh, the Bugun people too have passed down the knowledge and stories of their origins, culture and traditions orally in the absence of a written script for their language. And with only about 3,000 people left, their language is listed as endangered, which also makes the stability of their distinct cultural identity uncertain. The Bugun, also known as Khwa, are primarily settled in the Singchung administrative subdivision of West Kameng district in Arunachal Pradesh. There are about 21 Bugun clans settled across the villages of Wangho, Dikhyang, Singchung, Ramo, Situ, Lichini, Mangopam, Nampri, Diching, Sachida and Kaspi. Though the clans are now scattered across different villages, they have maintained detailed records of their legends and tales on how they came to the region they are settled in today. According to their oral tradition, the Bugun traced the origin of their migration to a mystical place called Mapi, the sky, and then to Jamkham, a place where the sky and the earth meet. Later, they moved to a place called Raikmadam. Their migratory route further covers several places before reaching Skongrai in present-day Diching village, from where most Bugun subgroups such as the Hakhungdua, Bredua, Khujundua, the Changdua, Hayandua and Hajidua are said to have originated. The community believes that they are the descendants of Achin Phumplua, also known as Sosipi, and his wife Moinini, who is regarded as the mother of all that is benevolent in this world. The couple then had 4 sons, collectively called Numua. These 4 sons were Muchua the tiger, Che the dog, Brun the human, and Yingyang, keeper of all that is prosperous. However, before taking in Moi Nini as his wife, Achin Phumplua was first married to Moi Madong, who is regarded as the mother of all bad things. It is believed that she went back to Mapi, the sky, after giving birth to 12 children, and that it is these 12 children of Moi Madong that cause all the maladies that humans face. The Bugun people have traditionally been animistic. Their shamans, who the Bugun people call Pabi, act as bridges between men, spirits, and the gods. A Pabi's ability to communicate with both benevolent and malevolent spirits through chants and rituals make them an inseparable part of the Bugun tradition and culture. Their service to the community was viewed as being critical, especially during trying times, like when the 3 cholera epidemics that broke out in Skangrai, the Kyanglong, and in the Singchung in the 1950s. The epidemic caused havoc and took a heavy toll on the already minuscule population of the community. Due to a lack of adequate medical facilities and awareness, the community turned to the Pabis, who in turn invoked the blessing of benevolent gods through rituals which are called Shabo.
Chering bodi cholache leki wangbu cholache leki narabu cholache leki lamu cholache leki bodi cholache che bo trong la ni zum zika chung Chering bodi cholache leki wangbu cholache leki narabu cholache leki lamu cholache leki bodi cholache che
The community performs various shabos to appease and seek blessing from the benevolent and malevolent spirits. Among the other deities, the Buguns primarily worship the mountains and rivers, which they consider as manifestations of benevolent gods and goddesses. Traditionally, there existed subtle differences in the celebration of certain festivals among the Bugun depending on where the clans live. For example, those living in the higher reaches like Wangho, Bichom and Dikyang celebrate Chat Swai, specifically dedicated to the deity of the mountains. Similarly, the villagers who are settled in the foothills like Singchung near the Tenga River celebrate Dien Ko Swai to appease the river deities. For ages, certain rituals were observed depending on the location of where the people were settled. However, in the year 2008, the different rituals were merged to become one in the form of their annual harvest festival called Pamko Swai. Pamko, which literally translates to mountains and rivers, is celebrated alternatively by whole Bugun villages to honor both the deities of the mountains and the rivers.
sự tô ý chia sẻ lấy chạy đến mà con đế sự tô ý chia sẻ để chung và chín phẩm để chung và mấy phẩm phá lúa miêu phá lúa ya sự tô ý chia sẻ na trong miêu na trong kyung sự tô ý chia sẻ.
This unified celebration was first organized by the all-Bugun society called Bugun Nimyang to bind the community as a singular unit. It is through such ingenious efforts of the Bugun Nimyang, which also look into the overall functioning of Bugun society, cultural aspects of the community came to light in front of other tribes of the state and the greater global community. One such cultural aspect is the traditional dance form of Gasyo-syo. Gasyo-syo, which literally translates to dance or let's dance, is performed in celebratory events, including weddings, which are regarded as an important aspect in Bugun culture. The Bugun follows an elaborate form of marriage tradition. Once a man and woman are agreeable to marriage, the families of the prospective husband and wife engage in negotiations to seal the relationship. To assist them, the families of the groom and bride enlist the service of middlemen, who act as messengers that pass on the terms of engagement. Tribe endogamy is preferred and clan exogamy is strictly observed, while parallel cousin marriage is strictly prohibited. Earlier, child marriage was a common practice within the community, but has been phased out with the passage of time. Though there exists a system of bride price, it is almost negligible, especially in comparison to their neighboring communities. The payment of bride price is made in kind, in the form of cattle, clothes and utensils. However, the economic status of a family also plays a vital role in the Bugun marriage system. A man perceived as being economically poor is often required to prove his capability to meet his future wife's needs by working in the agricultural fields of his prospective in-laws. The concept of divorce in Bugun society is not one that is common, but a woman can divorce her husband on grounds of incompatibility, under which circumstances she is allowed to take back all the movable properties that were brought by her from her parents' home. There are also no restrictions in Bugun society for widows to remarry. As such, women of the Bugun community share a fairly equal status in society with men in comparison to other cultures. But, as in several other indigenous cultures, hereditary property goes to the male members of the family. women in Bugun society are primarily entrusted with taking care of all domestic chores, but they also take an active part in the daily socio-economic life and cooperate with the men for economic self-sufficiency of the family. A primary area of focus of the Bugun women is farming and selling of a wide variety of produce that is harvested in a year. That includes maize, millet, potato, sweet potato, colocasia, tomato, cabbage, and oranges, among others. However, it is on the socio-religious and socio-political front that certain restrictions are imposed on women. Priestly rituals of major significance, for example, are not generally entrusted to women. Similarly, women hardly become a tabbako, which is the head of the village council. Though they have traditionally not played a primary role in the socio-political or socio-religious aspects of Bugun society, social and religious events can never be complete in the absence of home-brewed liquor, which only the women can prepare, that makes their participation essential. The indigenous drinks popular among the Buguns is called spong pua. It is made from maize, which is the staple food of the Bugun people. The process of making spong pua starts with the grinding of corns in a traditional apparatus called the rathok, a stone grinder. This process of grinding breaks down corns into 3 different sizes. While 2 of the most finely ground are used for consumption as food, the most rugged ones are collected and left to ferment after being sprinkled with yeast called pua. Once the fermentation process is complete, it is then filtered to be enjoyed. Such drinks are brewed in almost every Bugun house and is consumed by everyone in society, irrespective of age and gender. The Buguns also prepare rice beer in a similar process, but in comparatively smaller quantity, as they do not cultivate paddy in a large scale. At a glance, it may appear that the Bugun community is holding on tightly to their age-old culture and traditions. But upon closer inspection, it becomes evident that many aspects of their culture are gradually fading away. With the introduction of modern healthcare systems, the role of pubbies is diminishing and is now primarily restricted to the conducting of traditional rituals associated with their festivals. The language they speak, and which constitutes the basis of their culture and tradition, is also getting diluted. The UNESCO has listed the Bugun language as definitely endangered and noted that due to the lack of mutual intelligibility of their language with those of the other neighboring tribes, the Bugun people use other non-indigenous languages as the primary forms of communication. As such, Hindi and Nepali are becoming more popular among them. However, there still remains a ray of hope thanks to the efforts of the Bugun Nimyang. Their efforts to preserve Bugun traditions through collaborations with other like-minded people can contribute immensely in the continuation of their society's culture while retaining its originality. One can hope that their efforts ensure that the songs of the Bugun people continue to reverberate across the valleys and mountains which they call home, along with the songs of the Bugun Leo Chikala in their community forest for generations.
Ba nhang bờ lệ ba sang ba để gì ra rồi na ai để xa lăng lỡ mà chẳng na đâu tuần na ba trùng ba ai để gì chẳng rồi na ai để xa lăng lỡ mà chẳng na đâu tuần na sa phù ai để trở rồi ai để khá vu na vu ai để văng lăng số lơ mà số khen số đâu